Good morning. I want you to meet Brian Chesky. Brian was born in 1981 to two parents that are social workers in upstate New York. Now, Brian, as a kid, he loved art, and he would recreate paintings, and he would actually deconstruct toys and reimagine shoes. Brian's love for art eventually evolved into an interest in architecture. And Brian ends up going to school at RISD, the Rhode Island School of Design, a very prestigious program. Studies industrial design and comes out, launches his career as an industrial designer. Makes his way to San Francisco. And like any other San Franciscan in their 20s, is always looking to see how he can save a buck. Well, it turns out in 2007, there's this really big conference, kind of like this high-tech conference for industrial designers. And it's so popular that all the hotel rooms in San Francisco sell out. So Brian and his roommate, being the industrious guys that they are, they say, you know what? Why don't we rent some air mattresses so that we can take advantage of this opportunity? And they come up with a kitschy name, which is Air Mattress and Breakfast. Air Mattress and Breakfast, right? Which is cute. I think some of you know where this Air Mattress and Breakfast is going. Turns out that Brian's little experiment in 2007 caught on. You fast forward a year later, Brian applies to the well-known accelerator incubator Y Combinator in San Francisco. Y Combinator was founded by a venture capitalist, a very successful one named Paul Graham. And so Paul Graham is interviewing Brian about this Airbnb concept. And he says, this is Paul, I think it's a terrible idea. He said, are people actually doing this? And Brian says, I've done it. Yes, people are doing it. We're doing it. And Paul, seeing a number of different venture opportunities, says, are these people crazy, right? Now, we still don't know if these people are crazy, but what we do know is that earlier, let me back up. In that program, they get into Y Combinator, and Brian is able to convince Greylock Partners and Sequoia Capital to fund Airbnb. And that really is the launch of their venture. And what we know from there, many of us know this story about Airbnb, they raised a round of capital earlier this year. And their valuation, $35 billion. $8 billion less than, many of us stayed at the Ritz-Carlton. Ritz-Carlton is part of the Marriott family. Marriott, if you think back in March, Marriott was valued at $43 billion, right? So when you think about Brian's story and Airbnb, while Airbnb may be a unicorn, the playbook that Brian and the team at Airbnb operate from is actually quite common. And when you think about a playbook, there are many plays, and some plays are more important than others. And that's because some situations are more important than others. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to explore the startup story, and in particular, the moments that matter in the life of a startup. But before we begin, I have a question for you all, which is, why are you here? Why'd you pick this track? Anybody? This is going to be highly interactive, and I believe in the Socratic method, so. To learn the playbook. Very good. Anyone else here for a different reason? Yes?
I work for a big corporate company. I think that we are evolving. They want the employees, thank you. They want employees to start having a more entrepreneurship type of mindset.
Okay.
So that we understand, so we have a better idea of how the business is actually run and start thinking outside the box.
Yes, love it. Anyone else here for a different reason? Yes?
Somewhat similar to that answer, but we consult with clients on trying to help them be a little more nimble in things like
Yes.
startups and use concepts like rapid prototyping and things of that nature, MVPs, et cetera. So I thought this would be really interesting.
Yeah, awesome. Any other comments? Different reasons why you're here? Yeah?
I'll be loud. It's similar reasons, but we have been reading Lean Startup.
Ah, very good.
So
Eric Ries,
I
yeah.
like to understand, what's, is it aligned? Is it kind of the same kind of strategy and compare and again, apply it back to work, even though we're a large enterprise, we know locally we can apply the same concepts to get new ideas, innovate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, let me tell you why I'm here. And I want to borrow a concept from my trainer, Jennifer Hogue. And she talks about, in training, water and temperature. And she talks about water at 211 degrees. Water at 211 degrees is pretty hot. It's dangerous, right? Kind of like you all. You're very successful. You're pretty hot. You can do some big things. You've already done big things. You are dangerous. You know what happens to water, though, when it gets one more degree higher to 212 degrees? What happens? Evaporates, right? It boils. And when it boils, it creates steam, right? And she talks about the power of steam, that the power of steam can move things. And the reason why I'm here today is to help us find that one extra degree. That you're already amazing, you're already at the top of your game, but together, if we can leverage the collective knowledge in this room and find that 1 degree, we may be able to move things that right now we can't. So that's why I'm here. Now, what we're gonna do in this session, this is gonna be highly interactive. And so what I'd like you to do now is either grab a piece of paper, or if you use a mobile phone as your note-taking device, pop open Evernote or Keep or some note taker. And I want you to think about that big idea that I know you all have. That big idea for your organization. And pick your entity, by the way. I would imagine many of you will pick your employer. I know you have a big idea as it relates to the organization in which you work at. And what I'm most interested in is that big idea that you have not initiated. There's not a team on it right now, right? But you believe this idea can have a meaningful impact on the organization. I want you to capture that idea. Just write it down, please, or capture it in your phone. I'll give you a quick minute. Now, if you don't have an idea, I know that sometimes happens. It's early in the morning. Let me offer you one idea that I have a bunch of crazy ideas. I love food. I think there should be a gourmet paleta. And I was talking to my good friend Marco, who's an advertising guy. He said, I like your paleta idea, but why don't we make it little? So little paletitas. So if you don't have an idea for your organization, I'm gonna loan you my paletita idea. Gourmet paletas, right? Now, this idea, I want you to think about 3 people within your context, within your organization that you would love to work with. 3 people that you would love to work with on this idea, right? And then I want you to write their name down, and next to their name, I want you to write one word that describes why you would want to work with them on this idea. So 3 people and one word next to them, please. Awesome. Let's share. I'm just curious, the name, the relationship, and the word. I just want to get three people out there just to see what this feels like for us. Anyone want to share? Just the name of the person, the relationship to you, and the word that you used to describe them. Yes?
Sure, I got 3. One is my fellow director, JJ. Word I use is trust. I trust him with my ideas.
Awesome.
Next person is Tanae. He's innovative. He's
Great.
from Georgia Tech, brilliant guy. And Samay is relentless.
Love it.
Okay,
Love
so
it.
those 3.
Very good. Essential. Who else has people they would love to work with? Yes, right up here.
I got co-worker Brian, really creative.
Creative.
I got Rebecca, studious, just will keep sticking to the problem. And then Dan, who's really innovative, always has.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome. Dan, our innovative guy. How about one more? One more. Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Rosella, she's an
She has energy. Great.
Jen is my manager. I would say no.
Yes.
And Carlos is my employee.
Yep.
And I would say learning.
Awesome. I love that. Hungry is a great word, right? So here's what I want you to do. I want you to hold up either the piece of paper or your phone, whatever you captured, just hold it up for a minute, right? Just hold it up and look around. This is the canvas. You can put them down now. This is the canvas that we'll be using today to explore these ideas in our pursuit you can probably, your pattern recognition is probably elevated for future scenarios, right? Anyone see parallels? Let's draw some parallels for those of you that work in large corporate contexts. When you think about the pivot and learning from failure, anyone see opportunities for application in your large corporate environments? Yes.
Yeah, we definitely have a notion that we need to start celebrating and being loud about our failures so that we can learn from them. And so our executives are providing kind of write-ups of initiatives that they've started and where it went wrong. And so
Yes.
many times it's unintentional, but you can learn from it, and then other groups can kind of see that and then avoid those same mistakes.
Yes, very good, very good. Yes.
I see parallels on our side, but I think culturally, I think we're still saying the right things about fail fast. It's okay to fail, but when failures happen, they're really not meaning it, right? And I think that's killing innovation, it's killing that kind of the mindset of innovate. Now we're more risk adverse.
Yes. Yes. And that's an excellent point, right? Because Facebook has made failing fast part of the business culture, right? No one is necessarily afraid anymore of failing fast because Zuckerberg has made it famous, right? However, when you think about the dirty and the loud, we haven't quite gotten to those two elements in not just large organizations, but many organizations. Awesome. Let's move on. And this is our last protagonist for the day. This is Dara Khosrowshahi. Now, Dara was born in 1969 in Tehran, Iran. And Dara, interestingly enough, came from a very wealthy family. Dara's family in Iran had a very large investment company. It was actually a conglomerate, had interest in a number of different sectors. What's interesting is Dara's family had to walk away from all of that wealth during the Iranian Revolution. And they had to start over, first in southern France and eventually to Tarrytown, New York. Now, Dara's a smart dude. Dara goes on to Brown University. After school, works at an investment bank, Allen and Associates. And at Allen and Associates, he's working on an account with a guy named Barry Diller. Now, some of you may know Barry Diller. He's a famous media executive. USA Networks is one of the properties that you probably know from the media world. And they also have this entity, IAC. And IAC is a company that Dara eventually becomes CFO of. So he leaves Allen Associates. He joins his client, Barry Diller. He's the CFO of IAC. And IAC goes on to make a little internet acquisition called Expedia. Dara, being a very technically proficient executive, goes on to become the CEO of Expedia. While all this is going on, there's another gentleman by the name of Travis Kalanick. And Travis is working on a transportation application that gets people from point A to point B by leveraging a system of remote drivers. Many of you know this application. It's called Uber. And Uber is raising a ton of investor capital over the years. And in 2017, Uber and Travis in particular are under a lot of pressure on two fronts. Investors want to have a liquidity event, right? All this venture money has been pumped in. The way that it comes out is not by raising more venture money, it's by going public through an IPO. So the challenge, though, at this time is that there's a number of allegations and just outright fact-driven circumstances that there's sexual misconduct at Uber, right? There's sexual harassment that appears in some offices to be quite rampant. And so this is really bad news, just at a fundamental level. What's even worse is that we find out that Travis knows about it and did really very little to mitigate it. And so this is unacceptable. And by the way, if you think about 2017, this is right as we're going into Me Too. So this is like the perfect storm, right? Travis has to go. Dara becomes CEO of Uber, leaves $148 million in unvested stock options at Expedia to take over, at the time, Uber was a mess. People were deleting Uber from their phones, right? The trend was not their friend, and investors wanted their money. Dara goes in, rights the ship. Earlier this year, you guys know how this one ends up. Uber goes public 2 years later, this year. Yesterday, Uber closed with a valuation of $70 billion, right? So when you think about our final moment of truth in the life of a startup, it's the exit. And so what's really going on in an exit? Well, there's a couple things. For the executives and the founders at a startup during an exit, you got to make a couple key decisions. You have to decide, what type of exit are we going to have? Are we going to have a full exit, or are we going to have a partial exit? In the case of going IPO, that would be considered a partial exit. If we were going to be entirely bought out, that would be a full exit. You got to think about the process. Is it open or is it closed? Right? Obviously, when you go public, that's a very open process. But not all deals are done in public. Oftentimes, deals are done in a very targeted fashion. But that's an important decision, right? Already you can see the myriad of paths based on your choice. Is it a full exit or a partial exit? Is it an open process? Is it a closed process? And then finally, there are these different types of buyers. There are strategic buyers and there are financial buyers. Strategic buyers, those being individuals that are generally within your sector or in your space that have a strategic interest, right? Think about your competitors or your suppliers or your partners. And then financial interests are just that. Those are people that are motivated simply by return and don't necessarily have a strategic interest. They're pursuing the financial gain exclusively. So these are some of the really important elements of an exit process for an executive. Now, I love exits. And here's why I love exits. Because they create capital. What happens to the team is they receive credibility and monetary capital as a form of acknowledgement for a job well done, and more importantly, the resources to make future bets. I think a lot of people, when they think about an exit, we tend to overemphasize the cash, right? What I want to suggest to you, the real juice is in the acknowledgement and the credibility. The power of exit is very dramatic. I think about PayPal. Anyone ever hear of the PayPal mafia? Right? So it's the guys that were on PayPal who had this successful exit, and they go on to do amazing things. Guys like Elon Musk and Tesla come out of PayPal. Reid Hoffman, LinkedIn, comes out of PayPal. Facebook gets funded from dollars from PayPal executives who cashed out, right? When you have an exit, you get the acknowledgement, and more importantly, you get this pass. You get this card that allows you to play again in the future. And when done successfully, there's an ecosystem of these people. Now, we all know, and a lot of people celebrate what goes on in the Valley, right? And that's exactly what's happening here, is people are not just leveraging their financial capital, they're leveraging their credibility capital. And that's why exits are so powerful. So how does this apply to you? How do we create transferable value? It really is quite simple. It's thinking about your best work, whatever your best work is, and putting a node on it. Putting a node on your best work so that it's easy for other people to connect to it. That it's not just about you in that moment having a success, it's about planning for the transferability of this big idea by virtue of having a node, right? And that really is what the struggle with Uber was. The venture capitalists knew that with those allegations, there was no node to the public markets, right? There was going to be a severe consequence in their valuation if they went public with this dark cloud over them. And so that's what Dara did. Dara went in and he actually created nodes. He made it accessible for pension funds to invest in Uber. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to think about your idea. And I want you to think about where you're going to build the nodes. Let's just take a minute and you think about this idea, the idea being a culmination of a bunch of different moves. Where are you going to have your best work? And wherever the best work is, that's where you should put the node. Try it out. Let's take a minute. Awesome. Looking for two people that want to share where they want to set up their node. Where do you anticipate your best work, and how do you make it transferable or accessible to someone other than yourself or the three people that you're going to love to work with on this project? Who has a node? Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I guess the idea would be to think about when you're doing a project like this, on what would be the value that you would, as you're saying, transfer to others, but thinking in advance.
Yes.
In a way that you're creating this idea, you're toying with it, and hopefully it gets successful. But at the same point, you already know how to transfer it, or what is going to be the value for others, because otherwise you may write a crest where you are very successful, but as everything goes up and down. So plan on it. When it gets up to that top level, maybe be prepared to sell it, right, or transfer it.
That's right.
And so everybody would love it.
Yes, spot on, right? And let's draw, yes.
Isn't that like, I don't know, in a big corporation, in a big corporation, you got the projects, right? So you design them and you build them and then you implement them, put them into production. So is that what the node is, or?
Yes.
Because then they're in production. You can leave and go to the next one. That's the
And so for those of you that are technologists, yes, you're very accustomed to this muscle, right? Oftentimes, though, in companies large and small, people create things. Maybe think about it as we talked about workflows earlier. Maybe that you create a workflow that only you have the greatest command over. And you don't necessarily create those nodes. And in some cases, people in their careers build very successful portfolios of work in a particular role. And because there are not nodes, sometimes there's this friction for that individual to move on to a different role. Not only from that individual, because it's safe. Imagine you muster enough courage, as you have, to move to something different. Has anyone ever seen an organization that actually had friction with a person who is very proficient in a role, and the organization doesn't want them to move? Because if that person moved out of that role in that organization, there would be organizational risk, right? And so the organization is doing the right thing by saying, no, you know what, why don't you stay in that role? Because I know if Olga leaves, we're all screwed. And the reason why we're all screwed is because she didn't put a node in, right? And so that is really important, not only in the context of taking companies public, but also taking our careers to the next level. We're our home stretch now, and you think about this conference, and I really love learning events like this, right? Because we come together and you have some really amazing people in the room, and we've had some awesome sharing experiences today. Our greatest risk as learners is exponential decay. It's the forgetting curve, right? So right now, if you think about time and our enthusiasm and knowledge of all these ideas, it's really high. And I have people here that are in it with me, right? I want to do a bunch of stuff. And then when we leave this afternoon, we check our email, we get on the flight, we go home and see our family, right? And all those amazing things begin to wane. The forgetting curve is a serious threat for those of us that are looking for that extra 1 degree, right? And so what do we do to mitigate exponential decay and manage this forgetting curve? Well, I'm going to share with you what I do, which is train the tribe. I'm part of an organization called IB, and it's a national network of people that are interested in learning. And I'm in the tribe right now. I've got a doctor in New York, a nonprofit executive in Miami, and a university professor in Chicago. And we all have a similar interest, and that's in learning about techniques around problem solving. So every week we get together and we're actually taking a course. We're taking a course from McKinsey on problem solving. McKinsey, the consulting firm, they do a pretty good job in terms of establishing frameworks for problem solving. So here we are, these 4 people from all over the country, different walks of life. We formed a tribe to learn so that we're not alone. So here's my question for you. Who here is interested in getting stronger at organizing enthusiasm and resources to pursue a particular direction? If you're interested in organizing enthusiasm and resources to pursue a particular direction, just raise your hand. Put it up. And for those of you that have your hands up, I just want you to look around. Right? Thank you. Who here is interested in getting stronger at reimagining their current direction to pursue a better outcome? Who here is interested in reimagining their current direction to pursue a better outcome? Awesome. Take a look. Take a look. Amazing. And last one. Who here is interested in creating culminating moments of success? Who wants to get stronger at creating culminating moments of success? Awesome. Take a look. It's real. There's shared interest, right? Thank you. Now, here's what I know, is that as we all achieve more success, there are moments when we may feel alone. I know I've felt that, right? However, when it comes to getting stronger, I want you to look around. You are not alone, right? You have a tribe here to work on the things that can allow you to raise capital, to work on the things that can make you a better pivot master, to work on the things that can allow you to successfully exit, right? I've come to appreciate the value of time increasingly, as has been mentioned today. And what I would just leave you with is a word of encouragement to think about that idea that you wrote down on your canvas today. Build things that you're enthusiastic about, and to build them with people that you love, and to never forget to express your gratitude to them. Let me express my gratitude to you all for investing your morning with me. Thank you very much.